listen to the AZ Wildcats podcast brought to you by DraftKings. Put down a deposit. You can do $1,000 in free plays. All right, now joined by one of the hardest hitting safeties, one of the best pound-for-pound players in Arizona football history, Mr. Brandon Sanders. Hello, Brandon.
Hey, thank you. Good morning or afternoon to you. How's it going?
Not too bad, dude. First, I had a bunch of people ask me, because you've got a really cool title right now at the U of A, and tell us exactly a little bit just kind of what Brandon Sanders then does on a day-by-day basis.
Well, my title is Coordinator of Alumni and High School Relations. So I do engage with our football alumni, strictly for our football alumni. You know, we do monthly meetings, make sure we're updated, and then trying to really help engage be that link to our former players. A lot of times in the history of this university for football, there hadn't been a guy that they could talk to. We do have the A Club, and they take care of all alum, but I'm specifically for U of A alum, football alum, excuse me. And then the high school relations part, since I've coached high school, coached junior college out here, have a lot of, and was an athletic director, have a lot of connections between pretty much all the high school coaches in Tucson, Southern Arizona for sure. And then, of course, in Phoenix, and then some of our players, you know, coach in high school, along with being from California and San Diego and stuff like that. So, and then there's this little line that's not on my title, but it says duties as assigned. So that could mean a bunch of different things, from helping, you know, with recruiting, because I'm under the player personnel department technically, but also helping to run our camps that we did this year, our coaching clinic that we did this year. Try to help facilitate that and organize and do those things as well.
Okay, so basically you do everything, and you're a jack of all trades as well. So
a little bit, yes, a little bit. Jack of all trades is the best thing right there.
Okay, so as far as like the high school, reaching out to the high schools, because a bunch of people asked me about that. So is that basically making sure that Arizona has a footprint, you know, in all these schools, you know, an open line of communication? What does that mean exactly?
Well, yeah. Well, we have, you know, some of our we have area coaches that go out to certain schools. Some guys have already had those connections there, but with my connections and trying to make sure that, you know, there's some things that we don't want to miss, in the city of Tucson first, right, and then within the state. I'm pretty much up to date on if guys are moving from schools, if they're, you know, you look at Tucson High a couple weeks ago. The same thing with, you know, just any kind of movement within the state that would, I'm not going to say be blind spots, but not every single school can be reached to. For me, being a former coach and athletic director, I can see those schools. You know, there's difference when going out to Benson, going out to Thatcher, going out to Safford, going out to Finley, going out to, you know, Yuma and stuff like that. So I can kind of see those, and then a lot of the coaches get back to me, and I have a good pulse with a lot of those guys.
All right, so we're in year 2 right now of the Jedd Fisch reign, and you know he said one of the first things he said when he took over was recruiting's going to be the lifeblood of our program. Everybody's got to recruit. We've got to be able to bring in players from all over. And what's fascinating, you bring in a top 25 class, but you also see a little bit of the Dick Tomey template there, where you're recruiting California, you're recruiting, getting some Polynesian kids, you're also basically just trying to, you know, bring in everybody you can that works. When you came in and you saw the vision that Jedd Fisch had, and you've seen it, you've seen it put out there, are you ahead of schedule, right where you wanted to be? Because I know you don't generally see Arizona taking kids from USC. You don't generally see Arizona taking kids from Oregon, et cetera.
Yeah, well, if you put it on that, then yeah, of course, I say you're ahead of schedule. I wouldn't put it on a schedule basis. I think you like Coach Fisch said in media day and things of that nature. You know, this is actually year 1. You know, last year was year 0, right? Because we didn't really bring anybody new and everything else. When he got here, we had most of the guys that were already recruited were here. We were able to bring a few guys in. But you look at this team right now, I think 70% of the team is new. They weren't here a year ago. And then the other 30% that are here have gotten stronger, faster, better, and more bought into the program. of what Coach Fisch is trying to grow. He's trying to put the foundation together. There's a lot of things that we and Coach had to do with trying to help this team believe in themselves. And you saw that last year, even though we only had one win, but you saw the way we played. I think there's a toughness of Arizona that there's been a template. Not just when Coach Tomey was here, but when Coach Larry Smith was here, and before that, like there's a toughness that we're looking for. And then of course we want to make sure we're taking care of our roots, right? Arizona, California, the West Coast, the islands. I think that has been a recipe for success. And then you have to also sprinkle in Texas. If you look at our 23 recruiting class, you have to have, there's Texas, there's Louisiana, and there's Florida. Of course, you'll move from there, but I think you have to be select when you go.
What are you looking for then year two? So I mean, well, yeah, basically year one, but you got a new quarterback in there. You've got a revamped receiving core. What are you, just Brandon Sanders, the ex-U of A football great. What are you just looking for in year one? We'll put it.
I mean, I'm bought in. So, I drink the Kool-Aid. I want to see our fundamentals get better. I want to see us play more as a team and be tougher. Do I expect better quarterback play? Yes, because we're a second year into our offense. Whether you say we brought in some new pieces, even this staff is now together for a year. Everybody's trying to learn each other, and you might take Coach Johnny Nansen. I think when I look at Coach Nansen, who has Pac-10, Pac-12 kind of traits from playing at Washington State, coaching at Washington, coaching at SC, coaching at UCLA, and in playing against me and the Desert Swarm, he has a different appreciation of that. Not saying that Don Brown didn't, right, but I'm saying it. You feel it a little bit more. He's from LA. You feel that a little bit more in what comes out in most of our guys and most of our staff. So really, I'm looking for that growth. I'm looking for us to make those strides to be a better fundamental and foundational team. Having said that, I do have to taper some of that excitement with all the new pieces and everything else to understand that, it is year one when you think about it, because a lot of these guys are freshmen. A lot of these guys are transfers that haven't been here before, and they're just trying to, some get acclimated to the heat, some get acclimated to our city and community. And that is all, it took me a year to do that, to get to be able to get on the field and play. So it's a little bit different, but I'm excited with what I watch and what I see out there, and what I see in our meetings and everything else. These guys want to win. They work hard to win, and they're giving their best effort on a daily basis, which is great.
Now, you could be looking at obviously a lot of newcomers that are going to be playing this year, a whole bunch of guys. Now, you were part of it, during Dick Tomey, where basically he threw a lot of freshmen. He threw a lot of sophomores out there early, before the Desert Swarm became it. Let me ask you this. Because you're in the middle of that, did you guys know that when you were all being kind of thrown out there early that there's going to be something special here down the road?
I would like to say yes. Hey, man, we could believe in everything else, and that was great. But no, when I first got here, me, Teddy, Charlie Kemp, a lot of those guys, Chris Lopez, a lot of these guys got here that first year when we redshirted. Well, some of us redshirted. We were horrible.
Right.
I know we were 4-7. No one wants to talk about those years. No
right.
one wants to talk about us being 4-7, giving up almost over 30 points per game, getting beat in a 2-week span, 108-10, giving up 407 yards a game. No one wants to talk about that. But we went through our bumps and bruises to, come to that next year. And even then, we still didn't know we would be a great defense. We showed flashes, and then but we had to, you have to get, in order to get over the hump, you have to actually see yourself doing it. And I think that's what happened when we went down to Miami and played and almost beat them. We actually could not just see it, but we could go back and review it. You could feel it. You can look at it on film and say, this is what it is. And then we're such competitors, we continue to try to one up ourselves and until we got some better success. And then we believed,
Right. What makes a great safety? What makes a great defensive back?
Oh, wow. I mean,
Because I'm going to read something that one of your teammates told me that I don't think he'll about you, but I want to get your take first.
Look, my thing is, can you cover? Can you play? Do you show range as a safety, as a corner? How are your hips? And then of course some speed. When you look at what I call the greatest, defensive back, Deion Sanders, right? Deion, for as much as he was his athleticism, he was a student of the game, and people don't realize that when they talk about him, because you look at 4.2, speed,
Right.
and everything else. But he was so much of a student of the game. He can tell you about how a receiver runs a route and everything else. I think a student of the game. And then when I look at safety play, definitely physical. Me, Chuck Cecil, we came out of Helix High School,
Yep.
so it was that physical nature. But then being smart, I think there's some traits that you can see how your range is, and then how you understand offenses. I look at some of the great safeties. When you say physical, Jack Tatum. You look at smart, Ronnie Lott. You look at athleticism. You have Ed Reed.
Agreed.
So there's an instinctive, and then when you put that all together, I think you got Sean Taylor, right? Something like
Right.
that.
All right.
That's my. I know I went a little long, but that's kind of what I think when I hear that. But yeah.
All right, because I'll admit you were my favorite player. You and Richard Dice were my favorite players growing up, and I think you guys both bared down about as hard as you could. So that's for sure.
Dice Man, Dice Man will never get the kind of I think the kind of accolades or respect, um, only because people look at stats nowadays, right?
Right.
It's funny how they look at stats when only the stats apply, but when the stats
Right.
are a different way, they won't. So I think Dice is one of the best receivers in Arizona history. When you look at a guy that was 6 foot 6'1", almost 215 pounds,
Best hands you'll ever see.
huh?
Best hands you'll ever see.
Great hands, great athleticism. Go up and get the ball. People don't realize we go to the gym and he go and do one hand dunks, windmill dunks, and everything else. They don't realize how good of an athlete he was. And then when I put all that into his perspective, because his health, he had the ACLs on both knees. He went out and scored 2 touchdowns with no ACL on a #1 draft pick. Be the #1 draft pick like he stole something with
Right.
no ACL, playing just on a bum knee. That's the kind of guy he was. He was tough, and I faced him every day. And I think that respect. I think he just probably won't ever get, because you have to see it to give it to him.
All right, I'm gonna read something here, but real quick, got to tell you all. Four Peaks Brewery, official brew of the PHNX Sports, and check out FOCO, the #1 merchandise and memorabilia store going. That's got everything you need right there. You might even find a Brandon Sanders bobblehead all there. All right.
Wait, before you do that, sorry, I don't want to jump, but people say FOCO. Everybody sees me out at practice and everything else. They love my hat. That's FOCO.com.
That's FOCO.com right there. Oh, I love that. That is it. Oh, wow. Brandon, you should come for my job too. All right. Here's what a teammate of yours said. Because I just asked him, I said, what made Brandon Sanders so good? And he said he was incredibly smart. He diagnosed things really fast, and he was more athletic than you think, and freakishly strong on the field of play. I can't tell you how many times I've seen him wipe out a 230-pound fullback. Were you always like that? Did the physicality, because you're not a big dude, did the physicality of that come naturally to you?
Some of that is God given, right? I think I learned from an early age. They talk about me in Pop Warner, because my Pop Warner coaches say that there was a time I could hit very good. And there was a time when they call it I ran into a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I was taught is if the hole opens, you just run through and hit. So I went through and hit, the hole open in practice one day, and I just ran full steam ahead. And the running back came, and we both went like this, boom, and we both went flat on our backs. I stayed on my back. He was able to get up. That running back was Terrell Davis.
Wow.
MVP. And
San Diego.
Yep. And so from then on, I always was able to be a hitter. And then when I got to high school, I started to get stronger. Helix had a great weight program, and then I started knocking people out during my freshman year to my sophomore and junior year, and then I started getting noticed, and then it carried over. It was can I do that at the college level? That was the question. And then once I started really believing in myself, I had a coaching staff, head coach, and defensive back coaches that really believed in me and gave me the opportunities. Then God kind of took care of the rest along with my work. So opportunity and preparation, right?
How did the recruiting process play out? Because there was a time, obviously in your era, because you were obviously from Helix, but you also, the Taylor brothers were both from Morris High School, and so Southeast San Diego has had a prevalent spot on those Arizona football teams.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. We had even on the '98 team with Raphael Jones and
Mm-hmm.
you got Rashid Johnson
Archie
that
Johnson.
from a junior college, but all of us really tight. For me, recruiting was great. When I first got to Helix, I had no ambition to be in college or even play. I just played because I always did. But once I started getting letters, right? You start getting the letters, you start thinking to yourself, this is real. And I just remember my mom one day, I think we came back from UCLA, and she was like in tears. We did an unofficial, and they give you all the information, and she was just in tears. And it's the first time I really saw my mom cry, because my mom, she's a hard worker, worked at the post office, was a postal manager, came from Texas, all by herself to California. And she kind of anything I really wanted, she'd go get. You know what I mean?
Right.
I love video games, right? So I got an Atari. I had the Atari system.
Yeah.
If I wanted a game, she'd go get. But that was the first time I asked her what was wrong. She was like, if you don't get this scholarship, there's no way I can afford for you to go to any of these places that are doing it. And I just had to tell her she was going to be all right. I got recruited more as a corner than a safety. I only had a few safety offers. Corners, I pretty much everywhere on the West Coast I could have went. So I just wanted opportunity again because I was short, because they didn't know if the hidden could transfer. They wanted to see. So Coach Aquina said, "Hey, he saw me as a safety. He said I could always go back to corner, but let's see how it goes." And and it just was a match made in heaven for me because of the Alan Durdens, the Chuck Cecils, the Jeff Hammersmiths that had already been here, and then watching Coach Aquina really put the details of how to be a defensive back. And that's what I try to say. Yeah, I was a safety, but he showed me how to be a defensive back, to play corner, nickel, and safety, which actually helped me in the NFL.
How much did you weigh when you were at the U of A? What was Brandon Sanders' apex as far as weight?
I want to say, I think my last year or so, I was probably 185,
Okay.
188, maybe.
Right.
My first couple of years, I was 173. So when I started playing that first year, I was 173,
You were
174.
173. Okay, and then you got to 180 at that point.
Gained
Fair
a
enough.
couple, found because I had the high metabolism. So yeah, but it helped me because we played a lot of man to man. So I pride myself to say, look, I played so much man to man. I never gave up any touchdowns in man to man coverage my entire career. So that's cool.
What was it like? Everybody talks, and rightfully so, about Teddy Bruschi, and it's weird. It's hard to say that an Outland Trophy winner gets kind of overlooked, and but Rob Waldrop right there. What did Rob Waldrop mean to those swarm defenses right there?
Everything, everything. He was our centerpiece. He demanded a double team, and for as strong as he was smart on that line. He it started with him. You build great defenses up the middle, right? You look at him. You look at Sean Harris and Brant Boyer and Charlie Camp, and then in the safeties, myself and Tony Bowie. And but it if he couldn't take care of it up the middle, man, we were in trouble. We can still hit, and we can still run, and we can do everything else. Or we swarm to the ball. But boy, I tell you what, when he was going, everybody got single coverage on up front, and we had some dogs up front between Teddy and Jim Hoffman, Joe Salavea, Chuck Osborne. I mean, we had some guys.
I was looking at a preview or a Anthony Gimino preview before you guys played Miami in the Fiesta Bowl, and he actually picked you guys to win. And I can't remember exactly what it was, but he says this is crazy to say about playing a team like Miami, but I think Arizona's got more talent and better players going into that game. Because I mean, 29-0, and Chuck Levy's still running. But going into that game, did you guys know that Miami was probably in for a long day?
Oh, I knew they were. I told my brother. He didn't want to believe me. We played them. That was our third year of playing them. The first year down here, they kind of kicked our butts when I redshirted, and when we went down there, they scored 8 points, and and really they shouldn't even have the 8 that they got, or the touchdown, I should say, that they got. And I told him, I said, look, they had a Heisman Trophy winner, they had 3 to 4, 5, you would say, all NFL kind of guys on their offense. Yes, they still had Sapp, and yes, Ray Lewis was still young and everything else. They had some guys, but on offense, they had nothing. Right. Well, we just faced one of their best offenses, and that offense got 8 points. What do you think is going to happen when they come and see when we see them the next year? I said I don't see how they score. I didn't think they wouldn't get past a 50, but at least for one time. But I was like, I don't see how they're going to score. We know their offense, we know it, and they don't even. And then when we found out that they were going to put a freshman center, they were going to use a freshman center. I said, oh, they're against Waldrop. Yeah, you're that kid was crying. He literally was crying on the field because you're going to get killed. So
the talk a little bit about it, because somebody wanted to say Chuck Levy. Now, Chuck, and I'm going to quote Gimino one more time right here. He said that there were 3 players that, like when they just showed up at Camp Coach East, that just kind of looked different, at least in his opinion. He thought that Chuck Levy, Rob Gronkowski, and Chris McAllister. Those were the 3 that just looked. What kind of talent was Chuck Levy? Because I know first-team parade All-American, but just playing with him, what was that like?
Well, Chuck could tell you better than anybody else that he was the greatest, right?
Right.
No. I saw Chuck in high school play a basketball game, a triple overtime basketball game down in San Diego, and he wasn't even the main guy, right?
Right.
But you could see his athleticism, and then when you got here as a quarterback, slot receiver, running back, just physical, dimensions as far as 6 foot. 190 to almost 200, but I know he probably clocked a 4.3, but he's faster when he's playing. He has real football speed, and just and he's tougher than people think. You think you can get him down, you think he, even though he's got a nice strong build, he doesn't look, he 200 pounds, I would say he was, but he probably looked like he was 180, and he ran like he was 160. He was just a physical guy that when he was on between Miami, Oregon, when we were down quarterbacks, he went and played quarterback and crushed them. Like he's an absolute stud.
All right. Before we let you go, Brandon, what's the next step? Because you're an incredibly motivational guy. You're in a great position right now, obviously, at the U of A. You've been the athletic director at Pueblo. You've been the head football coach. Would you like to get into, D1 coaching? Is this kind of where you want to be? What's that next step for Brandon Sanders?
Oh, wow. Well, I always pride myself to say, always have your head where your feet's at, right?
Right.
So my head is where my feet is. Yeah, I love coaching. I think, one of the things with Coach Tomey right there, helped me get into coaching and was a big mentor for me. I think those opportunities, as long as I keep doing a great job here, have come because I get a lot of calls from former teammates and people that actually see me. And then you got a guy like Coach Fisch who's given me this opportunity, and also it also helps me get opportunities as far as within our staff to sit in on meetings and learn what it is. It's funny, we have a mantra of, how to be a pro. Right. And it's not just for our players, right? And it's professional. Right. It's not just for our players, for our staff, it's for everyone in the building. And so he's given me opportunities to one grow even in the position that I'm in, but even when we talk about doing coaching stuff and everything else. And I mean, Coach Fisch is a blessing to me. So I told him, man, I want to see him win. As much as I want to see Arizona, I want to see him win because he's put so much passion and energy into, you want to say our program, yes, but into Arizona football. Like no one's no disrespect to any other coaches after Coach told me, but I haven't seen people have cared so much about the community and the community here and the Arizona football alumni community. We talk, and if it's something that we don't look right or something's not, he's in here. He'll sit in here, and I mean, every now and then we'll just sit and talk, and he cares about these young men, but he also cares about the old guys, right? Yeah. So I think it's something with history that helps you move forward within your programs. And I get calls from guys that are saying, hey, we want to do something the same thing at Ohio State or something somewhere else. And I'm like, I thought they had great ones as far as community with their alum. And they're like, no, we need something like you and what you're doing. So we want to do mock that there. So we're treading on some good waters, but I love coaching, man. I love the competition. So that's the thing, man. So, hey, and I saw your thing on Twitter, on social media. Just to be mentioning some of that is a blessing, man. I tell you, people just don't realize. I was a little kid from San Diego and got a chance to live my dreams of playing, and to be up there with all these guys and Sports Illustrated and everything else. Could never imagine it.
The thing about you, though, that was just from a fan perspective back then, you just had, how do I put this? You had an aura about you out there when you were playing because, somebody was asking me the other day, and, again, this is my opinion. There's been a lot of great pound-for-pound greats. But when people went in and they played Arizona, they feared Brandon Sanders right there. And it wasn't just for the hits. It was for, it's like what Lamont said about how you could take out a pulling guard or you could get, up in a fullback. There's that one play, I think, in Illinois where you engage – it might have been Illinois – where you engage the quarterback and then you get off of him onto the running back. There really wasn't anything you couldn't do out there, and you did it with some pizzazz, which, but I do want to ask you this before we let you go. It's a different era of football right now, obviously. How would you have adapted? Because everybody adapts, obviously. How would you have been, different in this era per se?
I think, well, one thing that helps me is I was able to be a cover corner. Right. So, you look at that, I think it's easy to take the head out of the game, right? There's certain times there's bang shots, but I prided myself more on the hits when I'm coming up on runs. And running backs, you don't really get the helmet to helmet contacts, as people like to say, the defenseless guy, right?
Right.
So probably wouldn't take as many of those coming across the middle hits, but I can tell you one thing, even in this era, I still would establish the territory of what's mine, which is, whether I'm covering low, covering high, and everything else. Like, you can hit with the shoulder and still crack some people's ribs. You can still knock people out if you because there's some things that were just God given. But yeah, so I think still would have been all right just because I was able to cover.
Right. Brandon Sanders, can't thank you enough for coming on. We'll definitely have you on again and again, dude. Privileged to be able to talk to you.
Thank you. Get out there, buy tickets, come to our games. We need our community, so we need you guys.
In the community, and everything's going in the right way. And again, with this staff, the way that everybody's working, get in right now. Don't wait until it gets good, really good. Get in right now.
Yep, exactly.
All right, Brandon, appreciate you, my man. Talk to you soon, buddy.
Have a good one.
Thanks again. All right, Brandon Sanders right there. I'm going to talk a little bit about what, just some memories right there. But again, got to pay the bills. The DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. You put in $5, you can get up to $1,000 in free plays. 21 and up, Arizona only. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. They will get you taken care of. Again, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX for all of the best live betting, everything you want. It's right there. Again, check it out. I think Arizona over the 2.5 wins right there. All right. Well, Brandon Sanders, though, to me is really emblematic, though, of what Arizona football was at its apex and where it can go. Because, again, you got to have talent. There's no doubt about that. But Brandon was blessed. He wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he was definitely blessed with talent. And that's what you got to find right now. You look at that Desert Swarm team, that wasn't the biggest lineup that anybody's put out there. I mean, you got Teddy at 240, you got Brandon at 175, you've got Rob Waldrop at 270. But again, not the biggest lineup, but everybody out there could play. And everybody out there wanted to be there. And that's what I think the impressive thing is about Brandon, is that he wants to be at Arizona. Jedd Fisch wants to be at Arizona, and they're recruiting as such. And again, I couldn't agree with him more. Right now, you've got a guy in Jedd Fisch who is doing everything that he can. From recruiting, he's a tireless worker. Get those tickets right now, because again, Arizona is going to get there. And this is like Brandon said, don't take my word for it. Like Brandon said, this is a guy that's got a lot of some of that Dick Tomey in him, and not saying that other coaches didn't, but this guy really does get the community. He gets recruiting, and he gets Arizona football. So hop on in there, get that as well. But again, just really wanted to thank Brandon. That was fantastic. Everybody in here with the comments. Alfred Chavez, back the A Ray, by the way, great name. Brandon was always my man, but when he took over my alma mater, Pueblo, he jumped up a notch. I will always ride with Brandon. Bear down, back the A. And I think Alfred Chavez put it very well. He said, this coaching staff is really good. This team is going to play hard and win some football games. And everybody else in here, Omar, Hank Grill, all of you guys that hopped in here and made this one, Tina, everybody, you're awesome. Superfly 247. But again, one more time before we sign off, the DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. You put in your deposit, you can get up to $1,000 in free plays. Arizona only, 21 and up. Got a gambling problem, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. And again, this is the best place to be. Take Arizona with the over 2.5 wins. I'm telling you, you can thank me later. And heck, if you think that I'm an idiot, then you could say, you know what, I'm going against Mike. I don't think he knows what he's talking about. But on this one, I do. But again, check it out. The DraftKings Sportsbook app, code word PHNX. All right, we'll be back with you tomorrow, Brad Alice. But I just wanted to have Brandon on again. I think, in my opinion, he's the best pound-for-pound player in school history. You know the drill. Everybody have a great day out there. Back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow. You've been listening to the AZ Wildcats podcast.